Hello everyone. The name of the subject is repair and rehabilitation of structure. Topic is various types of concrete, which is a part of unit 1, and this is lecture number 6. Let's discuss about various tests of concretes. The test on concrete can be divided into the following lines. Test on fresh concrete, which is wet concrete, and it includes workability test. Second is test on hard concrete. Hard concrete, the most important tests are assumed are the assessment of strength of concrete, which are assessed by the following tests, which consist of compression test, flexural test, split tensile strength test, and non-destructive test. Measurement of workability is done by the following tests. It consists of some slump cone test, compaction factor test, VB consistometer test, key ball test, flow table test. Let us discuss about slump cone test. Slump test is one of the most extensively used tests all over the world. It is the most important test which is used to determine the workability of concrete in a fresh state. Dimension of the mold are: bottom diameter is 200 mm, while the top diameter is 100 mm, and the height of this cone is 300 mm. This is universally used and it is predominant in every country. Mold is filled in with fresh concrete in 4 layers. Each layer of approximately 1/4 of the height of the mold, and it is tampered with 25 strokes of the rounded end of the tampering rod. The strokes are distributed in a uniform manner across the whole cross section. After the top layer has been rodded, the concrete is stuck off level with the tower or the tamping rod such that the mold is exactly filled with the height of the cone. Then we also remove the excess wastage which is around the placement of the base plate. So around the cone we clean that part, and then final tampering to the top structure is done and a smooth layer is done using the same rod itself. Then after that the mold is removed immediately by raising it slowly and carefully in a vertical direction. Okay. Then the concrete is allowed to subside, and the slump is measured immediately by determining the difference between the height of the mold and the point of specimen being tested. So when the concrete is allowed to subside, the concrete will if it is very the water content which is used in the concrete is extremely less, then the concrete will not have the fluidity. But if the water is used extremely, the concrete will directly flow away. So like it can be measured by the length of the subsidation. So this is the cone that we see. You can see it's a conical structure with base and top both open, and the same conical structure can be used for measuring of the subsided concrete. So you can see the first picture. This is the apparatus which is used for conducting slump test. So the base plate is initially cleaned before removing the mold so that clear reading can be assumed. Then the long stick that we see is the tampering rod, and the short stick that we see is for the measurement. So you can see in the next picture that a guy is checking out the slump value of the concrete. So true slump is the first picture that we see. Zero slump potentially means it is non-plastic and it indicates very less water cement content. Collapse slump is potentially cohesive and it shows that the water content that was used in the slump was excessively high and the water cannot be, it has to be removed, and or additional paste of additional cement, coarse aggregate and like fine aggregates have to be mixed into the mixture to achieve true slump. We can also we can also have a deformity which is called shear slump, where improper mixing can be understood. So improper mixing takes place when the concrete is not properly mixed. Certain areas have extra or high water content and certain areas will have deficiency of water content. So usually this is as per the IS code for concrete. So slump for various purposes have been mentioned. If the concrete, depending on the type of concrete, we can determine like for the which purpose, for the application of that concrete, we can customize the slump of the concrete. And let's discuss. Concrete for road construction should be between 20 to 40 mm. For parapet and piers, slabs and beam, it should be around 40 to 50. Concrete for canal linings can be between 70 to 80. Concrete for arch and sidewall tunneling can be for 90 to 100 mm. Normal RCC work can have a slump of 80 to 150 range. This is the normal construction of the structure where the molds like the mortar or the rafting can be done for. Mass concrete for a massive structure, the slump should not be less than 25 to 50. And concrete for vibrated structures can be between 10 to 25 structures. And this indicates the different workability range for each type of concrete, which can be used for different applications. Second is compaction factor test. This test is more accurate and sensitive than the slump test, especially if for it is useful for concrete mixtures of medium to low workability. So with concrete mixture with very low workability cannot be measured in slump test, and the deformity cannot be properly analyzed. But compaction factor test is one of the best method for medium to low workability. Here, the workability is measured in terms of compaction factor, which is 0.4, 0.8, and 0.9. So 0.8, 0.4, 0.8, 0.9 is nothing but the cement water ratio. The concrete of very low workability with 0.7 or below, this test is not applicable. It is primarily designed for laboratory work, but can also be used in fields. So this is the test, this is the apparatus that we use for testing compaction factor test. So you can see the mechanism. So we have a conical hopper on top from where the concrete is being dropped. There is a trapped door which is fitted with hopper clamps. Then the concrete mixture falls into the second conical hopper, and eventually again it falls into the final cylinder. So the procedure, let us discuss the procedure for compaction factor test. The sample of the concrete is to be tested, is placed gently in the upper hopper and leveled. Then the trap door is then opened to allow the concrete to fall into the lower hopper. So you can see that the topmost cone is properly filled with concrete and properly leveled, and the surface is properly like smoothened out. Then the trapped door, which is below the first conical hopper, is then removed and replaced, so that the concrete mixture can fall onto the second conical hopper. Then the concrete which has sticked in the upper hopper in the sides is gently pushed into the lower one. Here, similarly, again the trap door on the lower hopper is opened so that the concrete falls into the cylinder. The excess of concrete remains above the level of the top of the cylinder should be cut and removed. So the additional concrete which gets stuck on the surface of the conical hopper is termed as wastage, and it is removed. Then the weight of the concrete in the cylinder is then determined. Initially, the weight of concrete which was um, stored or filled in the uppermost hopper is initially calculated, and then the weight of the concrete which is later on filled in the lowermost cylinder is weighted, and the weight of the partially compacted concrete is taken. Then the entire concrete filled in the cylinder and tampered with tamping rod of the weight of the concrete in the cylinder is then determined, which is known as the weight of fully compacted concrete. Thus, compacting factor is defined as the ratio of weight of partially compacted concrete to the weight of fully compacted concrete. So CF is nothing but compaction factor, is given by the formula of mass of partially compacted concrete divided by mass of fully compacted concrete. Compaction factor values for concrete are as follows. Compaction factor, if equal to 0.85, is considered as low workability. Compaction factor, if 0.92, is considered as medium workability, and compaction factor for 0.95 is considered as high workability. The higher the compaction factor, higher is the workability of the concrete. So with workability, we can understand that the placement of the concrete can be done easily. So let us discuss about VB consistometer. So this test determines the time required for transforming by vibrating a concrete specimen in the shape of a conical spectrum into a cylinder. Apparatus consists of vibrator table resting upon elastic supports, a metal rod, a sheet metal cone open on the both ends, and a standard iron rod. So we can understand that the apparatus usually consists of a vibrating table. So the whole vibrating table is mechanically powered, and it uh, it makes upon it helps the concrete to agitate properly, resting upon elastic support, and a metal pot, a metal sheet cone open on both the ends, and a standard iron rod. This standard iron rod is for tampering. Slump test is performed in a cylindrical pot of the consistometer, which is a good laboratory test only to measure indirectly the workability of the concrete. So slump test is an indirect test for which is good only for laboratory test. It is not that effective for field test. Slump cone is placed in the cylindrical pot and slump is noted. Then the electrical vibrator is switched on, and the time taken for the concrete to spread out in the concrete cylindrical pot is noted. in seconds, and the workability is measured in VB degree. So you can see the setup. So it consists of initially funnel through which the concrete is poured into. Then we have a swivel arm uh, which is connected to a graduated rod and is placed on a glass disc. So below the funnel, we have a conical structure. Again, the dimension is same as the slump test. The lower bottom is of 200 mm and the upper diameter is of 100 mm. The height of the conical structure is 300 mm and it is supported by elastic medium, and this whole apparatus is known as VB consistometer. So the comparison of value of slump cone and VB compaction factor test gives you like the better workability assessment. Workability description. Initially, we talk about slump, which is in mm, then compaction factor, VB times seconds. So comparing three factors, including slump test, compaction factor, and VB, we get to know that the most effective is VB time per seconds. Initially, for extremely dry, slump test cannot be performed, nor can compaction factor test be performed. But in VB time seconds, it ranges between 32 to 18. Whereas very stiff, again compaction slump test cannot be determined, whereas compaction factor can be determined, which is up to 0.70. And in VB, it ranges from 18 to 10. For a stiff concrete paste, it ranges for slump test, it ranges from 0 to 25 mm, whereas for compaction factor, it ranges from 0.75, and for VB time seconds, it ranges from 10 to 5. So each test have their own dimensions, wherein each category can be characterized. Stiff plastic for slump test is ranges between 25 to 50 mm. For compaction factor, it is 0.85. For VB time second, it is 5 to 3. For plastic, 75 to 100. Compaction factor of 0.90, and VB second time seconds is 3 to 0. But for extremely high flowing paste, for slump ranges between 150 to 175, and the compaction factor test is 0.95, whereas VB time seconds cannot be calculated properly. So this is the pictorial representation of the procedure of flow table test. So flow table, you can see a base plate and the conical structure. The apparatus can be seen. Initially, the cone is filled with concrete. We can see by the third picture that the slump is extremely high and the diameter of the resulting flow is measured. So diameter can help us understand the uh, flow table of concrete. Compressive strength test. So cement, fine aggregates, and coarse aggregates. Coarse aggregates ranging up to 38 mm to be used in making of concrete are weighed in the required ratio to be used in the field and are thoroughly mixed by adding requisite amount of water until the concrete appears to be homogeneous. So we have to make sure that the concrete is extremely homogeneous. It has a grayish tint to it, and the cement, fine aggregates, and coarse aggregates are properly measured. The test specimens are cast in the required size of the cube. which is usually around 150 by 150 to 150, or a cylindrical cone of 150 diameter and a height of 300 height, and d upon h is equal to 1 by 2. It is the dimension of the cone, which is a cylinder, which is used. The test specimens are stored at room temperature for 24 hours from the time of addition of water to the dry ingredients. So dry ingredients include cement, fine aggregates, and coarse aggregates. When this is thoroughly mixed with water, the time starts with the moment of addition of water. After this time, specimens are removed from the mold and they are placed in water. It is placed in water for curing purposes and kept there until taken out just before the test. So the water, the cone, the specimen is removed from the molds and it is placed inside water to remove unnecessary heat of hydration, and the concrete is placed in the water to attain maximum strength, and it is done until the test is performed. So this is the test. We can see in the first picture that the cube of concrete is put under the compressive tester and the compression force has been applied. Similarly, in the second picture, we can see the conical specimen which is placed in the compressive machine. Usually the specimens are tested for 7 or 28 days, but usually uh, it is suggested as per IS 456 to test the specimen at 28 days to attain the full strength. But in labs, we conduct tests in a duration in the interval of 7 days, 14 days, and 28 days. The specimen is placed between the plates of compression testing and machine. Gradually load is applied at the rate of 14 Newton per square per minute until the specimen is crushed. So with every minute, 14 Newton per square is being increased, and the average of 3 specimen valued is taken as the compressive strength of the concrete. So for each test to derive at an accurate value, the average of 3 specimens is taken, provided individual variation is not more than plus or minus 15% of the average. Generally, the cube specimen strength is approximately equal to 1.25 times the cylindrical specimen test specimen strength. This is due to the influence of the size of the specimen. Flexural strength test. Flexural tensile strength is done to determine the tensile load at which concrete may crack. It is an indirect test for assessing the tensile strength of concrete. The size of concrete is 150 by 150 by 700 So it's a rectangular specimen. The specimen is placed in the testing machine on two 38 diameter roller with a CC distance of 600 The load is applied through two similar rollers mounted at the third point, spaced at 200 per cc. The maximum load at which the specimen fails is noted, and from basics of strength of material, the fractional strength is estimated. So we can see that how the specimen is placed and the direction of load which is applied. And the second picture shows the cracking or the failing of the cube or like a rectangular specimen which is placed for testing. For tensile strength test, the tensile strength test may be determined by split tensile strength test, as it is practically very difficult to apply uniaxial tensile load. Therefore, few indirect methods are developed to determine the tensile strength of the concrete. Example is the split tensile strength test. In split tensile strength test, a compressive force is applied to the specimen such that the specimen fails due to induced tensile stress. Specimen is made of cylindrical shape with diameter not less than 150 mm, and the length is generally twice the diameter, which is 300 mm. The maximum load at which the specimen fails is recorded, and from it indirectly the tensile strength of the specimen is calculated. So we can see the specimen. So load is applied from the vertical direction. There is a supplementary steel bar, and the size of the concrete cylinder is 150 by 300, where the 150 is the diameter of the specimen, whereas 300 mm is the height of the cylindrical specimen. A plywood strip is supported in the base of the concrete, and the failure plane is considered to be the vertical direction. So we can see in the second picture where the pressure is from top and from the bottom exerted on the concrete specimen, whereas D denotes the diameter of the specimen, whereas L denotes the length of the specimen. The pressure points are from above and below. Let us discuss about non-destructive test. Non-destructive test can be done on both fresh concrete and hardened concrete. On fresh concrete, the ultrasonic pulse wave test, PUNDIT, which denotes ultrasonic pulse wave test, can be done. And for hardened concrete, pull-out test, ultrasonic pulse wave test, which is PUNDIT, Schmidt rebound hammer test, and radioactive methods can be used. Let us discuss about rebound hammer test. This is a non-destructive testing method. It is the surface hardness of the test for which empirical correlation has been established between strength and rebound number. It is based on the principle that the rebound of an elastic mass depends on the hardness of the surface against which the mass impinges. For this test, a rebound hammer, which is extremely handy and can be easily carried, is also known as Schmidt hammer, which weighs about 1.8 kgs, is required, and the test is suitable for both laboratory as well as fieldwork. This is a non-destructive method, so the structure does not get damaged after the testing procedure. The Schmidt hammer has a spring-controlled hammer mass that slides on plunger with a tabular casing. The hammer is forced against the surface of the concrete by the spring, and distance of rebound is measured on a scale of the instrument, which gives indications of concrete strength. This strength is suitable for concrete having strength in the range of 20 to 26 MPa. Let us discuss some of the limitations. The results are mostly affected by the factors such as smoothness of the surface, size and shape of the specimen, moisture condition of the concrete, type of concrete, coarse aggregate, and the extent of carbonation of surface. So this is the basic structure of Schmidt rebound hammer. So we can see a plunger which is connected in the casing, and it has an impact string which goes along to the hammer mass. Hammer mass consists of is surrounded by the housing, and it has a rider on glue road, which determines you, which helps, which has scale and window so that the reading can be noted. We and the whole plunger system is guided by hammer guide, and it is attached to the release catch where compression spring is placed. There is a locking button which locks the reading before and after the plunger hits into the surface. And usually when the plunger is hit with maximum force, it rebounds back. So the reading can be taken using a rider on glide road. Then the hammer mass is the mass which causes momentum. This whole structure is a small handy piece which weighs around 1.8 kgs and can be used for non-destructive testing and for determining the stiffness of the concrete surface. So this is the pictorial representation of hammer rebound test. Initially, the instrument is ready to test. It has body, latch, indicator, hammer, spring, shoulder, and plunger. So these are the basic elements which plays a major role. So initially the body is pushed towards the test objects with high intensity, and the hammer is released. With the hammer being released at a great force, the plunger hits the surface and rebounces back. So you can see that the person is conducting Smith hammer test, where the plunger, you can see it is attached to the, it is in touch with the surface, and the whole device is held in the hand of the tester. There are different types of concrete. The conventional cement concrete are commonly used for structures in normal environmental condition. With the advancement of technology and pressing demands for better mechanical properties and durability than the conventional one, as well as improvement in selected properties of interest, has led to the development of special cement concretes. Following are some of the various type of concrete used today in the industrial and residential construction. So type of concretes include reinforced concrete, pre-stressed concrete, fiber reinforced concrete, lightweight concrete, high strength concrete, ready mix concrete, self-compacting concrete, and shotcrete. So depending upon the type of concrete, the properties of each concrete and the stiffness of each concrete will differ. So keeping in mind the type of concrete, the strength of each and every particular type of concrete is uh, categorized in a variable way. So reinforced cement concrete, RCC, is the composite of materials made up of cement, concrete, and reinforcement, in which the concrete resists compression with reinforcement resisting the tensile and shear stress. So we know that the cement is extremely effective for compressive stress, whereas reinforcement applied inside the concrete is highly efficient for tensile and shear strength. It is anyhow also effective for compressive, but for this factor, we consider concrete to be high in compressive tolerance. It is the most versatile building material available and is extensively used in construction industry, ranging from small structural elements such as beams, columns, to massive structures such as dams and bridges. And there is a question, why is the purpose of reinforcement provided in RCC? So this is a very big question. why the like application of reinforcement is done in concrete and what is the need for it. So the steel bar are embedded in the tensile zone of the concrete to compensate the poor tensile resistance of concrete. The bond between steel and the surrounding concrete ensures strain compatibility. Moreover, the reinforcing steel imparts ductility to this composite material, and the reinforcing steel is also supplements concrete in bearing compressive forces as in the case of column. Let us go forward to the questions. So how many times in each layer of the concrete rodded is applied to the slump cone? First option is 75, 25, 12 to 15. Fourth option is 35 to 65. So this is nothing but this is asking about the number of tamperings that we do for each layer of concrete when placed in slump cone test. So the answer is B. And we just now discussed the procedure of slump test, wherein the slump is uh, placed in 4 layers, which is quarter of the conical height, and each layer is properly tampered 25 times with 2 feet 2 feet long bullet nosed metal rod, and it measures about 3 by 8 or like 16 in diameter. So it's a tampering rod. The dimension of the tampering rod is around 16 diameter and a length of 2 feet, which is nothing but 600 And each layer of the slump cone is tampered 25 times. How many layers of concrete are placed to fill a slump cone? So the first option is 5 layers. Second option is 3 layers by volume. Uh, Third is 3 layers by height. Fourth option is 5 layers by volume. So 3 to 4 can be done. The answer is B. Explanation is the fill the mold 12 inches high in the shape of the frustum of the cone, that is 8 inch in diameter at the bottom and 4 inch in diameter at the top. Then fill it with 3 equal parts by volume, not by height. So it is done using with volume partitioning. Okay. After placing each layer in slump cone, the concrete in the cones is tapped to remove remaining voids. Is it true or is it false? So we know that it is done for removing unnecessary voids. It is nothing but a compaction factor. With compaction, we understand that it is to remove unnecessary voids. So the answer is true. It is good to remove voids from the concrete to increase its strength. Therefore, tapping is needed to remove the remaining voids from the slump cone. To measure the concrete temperature, the stem of the thermometer must be kept at least inch of the concrete. The option is 1, second option is 2, third option is 3, and fourth option is 4. And the answer is C, which is 3. And the explanation is the stem of the thermometer should be surrounded by at least 3 inch of the concrete for better reading. In the soundness test, a specimen of hardened cement paste is dash for a fixed time. The first option is freeze, second is dry, third is boiled, fourth is dipped in water. So the answer is third, which is boiled. And the explanation is that the specimen of hardened cement paste is boiled for a fixed time so that if there is any tendency to increase or decrease in size can be detected. As we know that with the presence of moisture, the concrete has the tendency to increase in size, and with shrinking or removal of water moisture in the specimen can result into decreasing of the size. If L1 equals to measurement taken after 24 hours of immersion in water at a temperature of 27 plus or minus 20 degrees Celsius, and L2 is the measurement taken after 3 hours of immersion in water at boiling temperature, then what is the soundness of the cement? So the option is L1 plus L2, second L1 by L2, third L1 minus L2, and fourth L1 multiplied by L2. So the answer is C, which tells us the value of L1 uh, is divided by is subtracted by L2, the value of L2. So the L1 minus L2 is the formula to calculate the soundness of cement. First, take the reading after the immersion in water, then and measure it after 3 hours of immersion in boiling water. To determine the fineness of cement, first, the grain size is smaller than the specified mesh size. The grain size is larger than the specified mesh size. Grain size is equal to the specified mesh size, and the grain size is 1 mm. So the answer is grain size is larger than the specified mesh size. So anything which is retained on the mesh or the sieve plate is considered as the fineness of cement. So the explanation is to determine the fineness of cement by dry sieving as per given in IS 4031 in part 1, which was written in 1996. The principle of this is that we determine the proportion of cement whose grain size is larger than specified mesh size. The apparatus used are IS sieve and the balance capable of weighing 10 gram to the nearest of 10 microgram. So the option is 90 UM, 45 UM, 22.5 UM, and D is 14 UM. And the answer is 90 UM. And the explanation is that the apparatus used are 90 UM ISC and the balance capable of weighing 10 gram to the nearest of 10 milligram, and a nylon or a pure bristle brush, preferably with 25 to 40 mm, and the bristle 25 to 40 mm bristle for cleaning the sieve can be used. What is the amount of water required to give the paste normal consistency for consistency test? The first option is 0.78 times, second 0.79 times, third 7.7 times, and fourth option is 0.76 times. So the options are 0.78, 0.79, 0. The options are 0.78, 0.79, 0.77, and 0.76. So the answer is 0.78. And the explanation is prepare a paste by adding 0.78 times the water required to give a paste of standard consistency, that is 0.78 P. Which apparatus is generally used? Which apparatus is generally used for conducting Le-Chatelier tests? Should confirm measure the soundness of the cement. So which apparatus generally used to measure the soundness of cement? So the options are: first, Vickett apparatus; second, Le-Chatelier apparatus; third, soundness meter; fourth, Duff-Abraham apparatus. So the answer is Le-Chatelier apparatus. And the explanation is: the apparatus for conducting Le-Chatelier test should conform to IS 5514 and 1969, and the balance whose permissive variable at the load of 1000 gram should be plus 1.0 gram and water bath. These are some of the reference books for understanding repair and rehabilitation of structure and the various tests on concrete. Thank you.